Ciao, I'm Mario, a Swiss car guy on YouTube, and today it's going to be another driving around video in my 2008 Lexus LS600H. And today's video topic came up in the chat when I premiered the last video, where a user, I'm very sorry I don't know your username because I sort of cannot look up the chat anymore from my mobile. He suggested that I talk a bit about the Lexus LS430 that I used to own about 10 years ago. And that's what I'm gonna do in this video, and I'm gonna call this video the one that got away. Because for me, I mean, you know, I have this sort of unnatural love for Lexus, especially the LS, because in Switzerland, like in Lexus LS, has always kind of been an exotic car. There aren't that many sold, you don't see that many, so it's always been a bit the more, you know, rare and exotic luxury car. And then there's of course the reliability thing and the we are going to build the best car in the world thing that I like a lot. So I always been sort of infatuated with Lexus LSs. The LS430 in particular, it was the first good car I ever purchased. And I don't mean that what I had before was like crap, but my first car was a Lancia Ypsilon. It was a 1.2 liter compact car. Well, actually it was a city car, let's be honest. It was a short wheelbase Fiat Punto basically. And it's not like, ooh, the Fiat Punto's got too long a wheelbase, right? So I upgraded from the Lancia to the Lexus, and that's a bit of a difference because going from 1.2 liters to 4.3, going from a car that's tiny to a car that's rather large, was a bit of a difference. But I love that car. And the thing is, I crashed that car less than a year after I bought it, which means I never had to service the car, I never had to do anything to it, I just drove it until I didn't. And although I have this irrational love for Lexus LSs, I think the LS430 is a bit more, especially because it's a car I dreamed of for a while. It's the first good car I bought, and because its life was cut short. Therefore, I think I idolized that car in a very irrational way, because even now I still want an LS430, which makes absolutely no sense since I have an LS600, and that's like the two cars are very similar in purpose and everything. And also in Switzerland, it's not that easy to actually buy an LS430 because I think right now there are like 2 or 3 in the market. And my experience with Lexus LSs is they come in one of 2 shapes. One is the low kilometer, very well kept, ridiculously priced, because there are Lexus LS430s that are advertised at way more than 10,000 Swiss francs, which just doesn't make sense. It's a good car, but my God, these cars are almost 20 years old. And then there's the others, which are the very, very high mileage cars that are not that well kept. And even those cars, in my opinion, they are too expensive because they are advertised around the 5 to 6 grand mark. And those cars, I mean, Lexus LSs are good cars, but those cars have been used and abused. And some peculiarity of Switzerland, it seems that a lot of these high mileage Lexus LSs have been used as taxis, which is something I do not really understand. I mean, sure, it's a reliable car, but what taxi driver in his right mind would taxi with a V8 petrol engine? That makes no sense. Just get a diesel or something hybrid at least. I mean, the fuel costs are going to kill you, but I don't know what goes on in their minds. Anyway, that's the reason why basically it's very hard to buy a used Lexus LS430 in Switzerland, and hence why I don't. Also because I don't need it. And I think my love for the LS430 is a bit irrational, mostly because it's the car, you know, the first good car I had, and then I crashed it after a short time, and because the car itself, it was far from perfect, especially for Switzerland and for, you know, a daily driver car. You see, when I bought the Lexus, it came with, you know, 2 sets of tires, summer tires and winter tires, and I bought the car at the end of summer. So I had the winter tires put on it when I took delivery of it, and I didn't realize that they were Cooper tires, which, I mean, they're not terrible tires, but they're definitely not the most premium, the best winter tires available. And I realized this very soon when winter started, that on a rear-wheel drive car, you pretty much want to have the best tires you can have. I mean, in general, you want to have the best tires you can have, but on a rear-wheel drive car, it's so much more important, because man, did I get stuck with that car. And I didn't go like into the mountains where I got stuck. No. I got stuck in front of my mom's house. Because you see, she has like the driveway in front of the house, it's sloped downwards. And I was used to coming there and then, turn the car. So drive up to the house and then back up the other way to turn the car around in order to drive off again in the same direction, because the house was located at the cul-de-sac, and that was the way I was used to doing it with my front wheel drive cars. But with a rear wheel drive car in winter, backing up a slope, not going to happen. So I had like 2 or 3 times where I actually got stuck in front of my mom's house, and where I needed help in order to get out. I mean, the help was basically just a bit of weight in the trunk and maybe a bit of pushing from the front, but that was very, very annoying. And then I learned that if I back up to the house, I make it out actually. With a bit of wheel spin, but I make it out. That was annoying. And after that incident, I bought new winter tires for the car. I went to the tire place and basically just told them, get me the best tires you have. I got DUNLOP WINTERSPORT or something like this. I don't know what they're called. I just know they were DUNLOPs, I believe. Maybe they weren't. And that improved the situation, but it still wasn't really a good car for winter, because I remember one instance where I had to drive up to Appenzell, which is in the mountains in Switzerland, so at a certain elevation, and it was in winter and it was snowing. So there was quite a bit of snow and obviously ice and everything. So I drove up there from St. Gallen, and I remember that driving the car with the ASR on would make it so that I couldn't drive any faster than like 25 kilometers per hour. And driving it with the ASR off meant that the wheels would be spinning a lot and that I couldn't actually drive any faster either. So I drove up there to Appenzell at 25 kilometers an hour, and I was overtaken by Fiat Pandas and stuff like that, because for them it was no problem. But me with my big Lexus, that was not good. So not a very good car for winter, even though, I mean, it had heated seats, so that was already nice. But as a year-round car, not that great, especially if it snows or if you don't want to get stuck in front of your mom's house. Oh, and if you're noticing the music in the background, this also came up during the last Premiere chat, where a user was suffering a bit from insomnia, and it turns out that my voice is not sleep-inducing enough, so I thought I'd help out with a little lullaby in the background. So even though the Lexus LS430 was actually quite a bad car for winter, I still long for one, and it's probably because I crashed it after not owning it for a lot of time. In fact, when I crashed the car, that was also a story on itself. I crashed it on my commute to work. So the route was my commute to work, but it was during my holidays. So that was the weird part, is that a piece of road I drive every day is where I crashed the car, but when I wasn't supposed to drive there, which is funny enough. And the funniest thing is that after I crashed the car, I basically had to wait for, the police, emergency service, whoever to show up. I mean, I was fine, I didn't have anything, but of course the car was totaled and I had to wait for, in this case, the police. because you cannot just tow your car in this case because I hit the guardrail, and when you hit the guardrail you always have to call the police, which of course means you'll get your license suspended, which I did, but that's another story. But since I had to wait about 1 hour for the police, meant that by the time they arrived, rush hour had already begun. So not only was I slowing down traffic, I'm very sorry for that, even though my car came to a stop on the emergency lane, so that was already fine. No, the thing is, my work colleagues started driving by, and when they saw the car, they realized, oh, that's Mario's car, because who else owns a Lexus LS430? So, and then the messages started coming in, hey, are you alright? What happened? And I was like, yeah, I crashed my car. Yeah, I'm alright. Don't worry, I'm fine. And yeah, that was very, very embarrassing. I mean, the crash itself was very embarrassing because it was 100% my fault. You see, that stretch of road was like one, I know it out of the back of my pocket. So easy, I can drive there however I want. And I used to drive there quite fast because it's a straight bit of road. It goes upwards, so on bits of roads that go upwards, there's never going to be any speed camera because not enough money is going to be made. The speed camera will be on the other lane going down. So I used to, you know, drive quite quickly up there. And on that day, it was raining, and it was raining a lot. In fact, I think it was the day with most rain of the entire year. But, you know, I thought, who cares? It's a straight bit of road, so I just hit the throttle, and then, you know, the car started aquaplaning, and basically on the straight bit of road, like I'm driving now, it just slammed into the side guardrail. So the rear just came out and slammed into the guardrail, and then, you know, the car started rotating and just aquaplaning over the road. And in the moment the car hit the guardrail, the rear glass shattered, and in that moment I just knew, okay, this car is done, and I cannot control it anymore because I knew steering wouldn't do anything. So what I just did is I basically sat down in my seat, put my head on the headrest and my arms towards my body and waited for impact, because that's all I could do. Sure, I still had my foot on the brake, but the car was not having any contact with the tarmac anymore. So the car then spun over the motorway and then hit the guardrail at the other side, impacting it backwards. So as I mentioned, the car came to stop on the emergency lane, which was nice, so I didn't block the entire road. But it was completely done. And yeah, so it wasn't one of those moments where you think, wait a minute, this is really happening? And even for a moment I said, hey, maybe this is a dream. Like, pinch myself and no, this is not a dream, it's really happening. And a lot of swearing was involved in that. And I got a driver's license suspension for 2 months and a fine of several thousands as well. And the other thing is, I didn't have comprehensive coverage on my insurance, because I thought, you know, I own the car, I don't have any payments on it. So if the car gets totaled, I don't have any debts I have to pay anybody. And that was a very flawed logic, because then I realized, wait, now I don't have money to buy another car. So yeah, that was another problem, which meant that for a couple of months I drove around in my mom's Fiat, which by the way was a nice car. It was a Fiat Bravo HGT with a 5-cylinder 2-liter. Not the most powerful car, not the nicest interior, but then again, very sweet sounding engine. And at that time I thought, I don't know, maybe I'll buy just some car. And then I considered buying another LS430, but that proved to be almost impossible, because the cars back then, even worse, they were even more overpriced or absolutely trashed. So ultimately I went for the car whose name I don't mention, because it was sort of good value to purchase. And that car, I mean, I bought it for a really good price back then. The maintenance was ludicrously expensive, that's another story. But this is also a reason why I always longed for the LS430, because I reckon, you know, had I had that instead of the other car, how much more reliable would it have been? How much more money would I have saved? But then again, I crashed that car, so it wasn't going to happen. And in the end, I am where I am. And as I mentioned before, I would still like to get another LS430, but I don't think it's going to happen in the foreseeable future. Possibly it's not going to happen ever, because I mean LS430s are not going to become more common in Switzerland. If anything, they're becoming more rare, and picking up a decent one for not a lot of money, I mean it's easier finding a needle in a haystack, let's be honest. So that's the car for me that got away, the LS430. And I know I'm complaining while sitting in an LS600H, but you know, the LS430, it was a car with its own charms. I think the LS430 is not as good looking as the LS600, but it has like, I just like it. It's like a child. It may not be the prettiest one, but you still love it and you wouldn't want it to be any different. But that's the car that got away for me, the car I still long to, even though I shouldn't. Do you have a car like that? Is there a car you miss? Is there a car you still would like to have again? Please comment down below. And if you like this video, please leave a like. Consider subscribing to my channel for more rants and other stuff, because I got stuff coming up, don't worry. Also, I should advertise my Instagram account, where I occasionally post stuff. So if you want more Mario and you are on Instagram, please follow me at Swiss Car Guy Mario, which is me, Mario, mamma mia. But this is the end of the video, so thank you for watching and have a nice day. Bye. But I think I'm going to drive into a tunnel now, and it's gonna get really dark, so I'm going to stop talking for the tunnel. Oh no, there are tunnels on this route. I didn't consider that. This is a very dark tunnel. I mean, might just as well film at night. Not loving it. Not loving it. Oh, it's another tunnel. Man, this is a long tunnel. And I don't like that it's so long. Tunnel. It's another tunnel. It is another tunnel. The odd thing is there are really long tunnels here, but there shouldn't be any mountains, so I don't really know what these tunnels are going through or under. It's still going on, this tunnel! Wow, I don't even see the exit. Have I driven the wrong way? Have I gone through the St. Gotthard? I don't know, I mean, what the hell? I can see the end. The tunnel's over.